Every so often in life, you get an opportunity to do something amazing that you just can't pass up. I had such an opportunity just a few weeks ago. I was invited to go on a trip to Peru and Bolivia with founders of two nonprofit organizations, Choice Humanitarian and the Escalera Foundation. Our trip would include visiting some famous tourist locations, amazing ruins, and natural wonders. But mostly, we would spend our time with the Quechua and Aymara people that Choice Humanitarian has helped over the years. Join me as I travel through Peru and Bolivia, seeing sights, crossing borders, and visiting amazing people.
Are we there yet?
My adventure started in the city of Cusco, Peru. After an exhausting 5 flights and a solid day and a half of travel, I was officially on the other side of the equator and in South America for the first time. That magic and wonder that travel brings was heavy upon me. Everything was new and exciting. Cusco is an incredible city. I could hardly believe my eyes as we came into land among the Andes Mountains. The scale of everything was so much bigger than I was used to. Sitting at over 11,000 feet above sea level, I immediately felt the altitude. It was as though we had never come back down after takeoff. We wasted no time, however, upon arriving and immediately went out to explore and grab some lunch. The city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and has no end of cathedrals, museums, colonial architecture, and ancient Inca foundations. Everywhere I could see telltale signs of the incredible stonework that the Inca Empire is known for. These foundations are remarkable in that they were built without mortar, and yet have withstood centuries of earthquakes and change. For better or worse, I tend to do very little research before traveling somewhere. I enjoy discovering the place with unbiased eyes instead of hopping from one Instagram-worthy tourist spot to another. For this reason, I was totally blown away by the ruins around Cusco. After an alpaca sandwich for lunch, we headed to some ruins above the city called Saqsaywaman. Saqsaywaman was an Inca fortress built in the 15th century. The first thing that impresses you when visiting this amazing place is the sheer size of the stones that were used to construct this massive fortress. The boulders, some estimated at over 100 tons in weight, are so expertly carved and fitted together that it seems almost impossible that an ancient civilization could do such work. Unfortunately, Saqsaywaman was largely destroyed by the Spanish, who took all but the most massive stones to build their homes in Cusco. The remaining walls are impressive enough, though. I couldn't stop wondering at the patience and time it must have taken to carve them.
This place is amazing. You know, I didn't even know what we were coming to do today, but these ruins, they carved all these stones and put them together. They fit perfectly. It's absolutely amazing.
We continued sightseeing above Cusco for several more hours, visiting ruin sites high above the city. There were ancient waterways, beautiful views, and lots of llamas. As we viewed the amazing ruins, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of wonder and respect for the ancient peoples of Peru. What incredible cultures. It made me wonder what the world would be like if amazing people like the Inca had never been conquered and subsequently destroyed. So as we were walking back from one of these ruins, I'll share a short story with you. One of the individuals that I was with pointed out this girl that was sitting down on some benches. There's vendors selling things all over up near the ruins. You know, artisans create textiles and things, and they're always trying to sell to the tourists. So as we were coming down from this one set of ruins, we saw a girl that was sitting there, and it looked like she was selling something, but she wasn't selling something she had made. She had these branches in her hand. It's this herb that grows there in Peru that they use for a tea. Kind of tastes minty. It's actually very good tea. And it turns out that this girl was actually handicapped. And my friend said, you know what, this may be her only source of income, you know, for her family, is her selling these herbs. We need to buy some from her. And so we went over and we said, hey, you know, we'll buy some. And, you know, she gave us one of the branches, and my friend gave her some money. And as we were chatting, we noticed that this girl, her shoes were in pretty sad state. Her toe was poking out through her shoe, big hole. And my friend said, it looks like you could use some new shoes. And she said, yeah, these ones are definitely getting old. And, I'm earning money, and maybe I'll be able to buy some shoes when I earn some more money. And sorry, my friend took out a bill, 100 soles, which in US dollars it's not very much. And he took this bill and he handed it to her and he said, there, you can go buy some shoes. Now, the look on her face, of disbelief and surprise and happiness all in one. She got up and she gave him a big hug and thanked him profusely, and it was just a really tender moment, and it drove home for me in that moment why we were on this trip. Yeah, we were going to see some really cool ruins, wonders of the world, archaeological sites, and we were really there to meet the people, to see the people, and to interact with the people. And these are the people who are basically the ancestors of the Inca, the ruins we're going to see, and they're still living here. They are still here trying to get by. It was a special moment. And it was a moment when I realized that, the treasure of any country is its people. With some cool pictures and special memories from the day before, we woke up the next morning ready for an adventure. The morning was bright and sunny, perfect weather for the journey that was ahead of us. One thing that was made a priority on our agenda while in Peru was to visit the most famous of all Inca cities, Machu Picchu. The trip would take a full day because there was so much to see on the way. A trip to Machu Picchu takes you through what is known as the Sacred Valley of the Inca. This valley is an incredibly fertile farmland with a beautiful river flowing through it. It was here in the shadow of the mountains that the Inca cultivated maize and other crops to feed their civilization. We started out that morning by car with a local Quechua-speaking friend named Juan Carlos. It made all the difference to go with someone who knew the area, and he talked to us about the valley as we drove out of Cusco. Juan Carlos was born in a small town in the valley itself. In fact, his parents still live and farm along the Urubamba River. The drive was so beautiful, with incredible mountains towering above, some of which were over 19,000 feet high. Juan Carlos pointed out the incredible terraced structures that the Inca had built to shape and farm the mountains, and took us to the ruins of Pisac, another incredible Inca city high in the Andes. It was amazing to visit these places with a local who had grown up here and to get his unique perspective. My favorite conversations were about life in Peru and about the people that lived there. I would have loved to explore the Sacred Valley for days, but we had a train to catch. The only way to get to Machu Picchu besides hiking for several days is to take a train. Although, honestly, I would have preferred to hike for several days. But this trip we were limited by time. There are no roads to Machu Picchu because of the insanely steep mountain walls. The train that takes you there departs from a town called Ollantaytambo, which is as far as you can drive through the valley. This town alone is worth a visit with its quaint plaza and tiny streets sitting in the shadow of tall mountains, encrusted with more Inca ruins and fortifications. As we boarded our train towards Machu Picchu, I could hardly contain my excitement. It was hard to believe everything I'd seen that day, and the anticipation of visiting some of the most stunning ruins in the world had me totally giddy. Little did I know that our Machu Picchu experience would meet with some very big challenges.
Are we there yet?